Innovating Education Learning World in association with WISE, an initiative of Qatar Foundation.
This week we travel to the UK to examine some of the key policies and challenges in British education as the election approaches. We also get a front row seat as a group of secondary school students debate their political views. A flagship policy of the current British government has been its Free Schools initiative. State-funded but independently managed, these schools have stirred up controversy. So how different are they from other schools? Let's find out.
Canary Wharf College was among the first free schools to open. Located in Tower Hamlets, one of London's most deprived areas, it's very different from many other schools in the area. Class size is limited to 20, the curriculum is wide, and it runs a longer school day.
I took a chance because of the smaller class sizes more than anything, and it was just an exciting time, an exciting curriculum, something different, something new. And my daughter was speaking French at 4 and reading at 4, and she sings to me in Mandarin now.
But critics say the flexibility that free schools have over the curriculum and their admissions and finances can make them unfair. There are now more than 400 free schools open or approved to open. The New Schools Network works on helping them apply and set up.
They receive exactly the same amount of funding per pupil as other types of schools. The difference is that they get complete control over how they spend that budget because the funding for them comes direct from central government rather than going through local government as with other types of schools.
Canary Wharf College's founder says she couldn't have achieved her goals within the state comprehensive school system, which is controlled by local government authorities.
I think the difficulty is actually being able to work with people who will allow you to think outside the box. And that is the challenge that is faced when you're dealing with anything that comes from a traditional approach.
But free schools put more power into the hands of head teachers, permitting them to employ unqualified teachers if they choose to do so, and giving them more flexibility over how they raise and handle additional funding. The application process is rigorous.
To open a free school, you've got to put together a 100-page application document and submit it to the government. And within that, you've got to set out your education plans, finance plans, details of the governors of the school, and crucially, you've got to show that there's support from local parents for the school, because no free school can start unless there's a clear and evidenced demand from local parents that they want this school in their area.
Part of Sarah Counter's vision for Canary Wharf College, which comprises 2 primary schools, is to provide education with a Christian ethos. Half the pupil places are Christian faith places, while the other half are open to all children in the area. Parents are queuing up to get their children into the school.
Because it's so popular. We were 6 times oversubscribed this year in the founding school and 5 times oversubscribed in the second school, which makes us, within Tower Hamlets, per pupil place, the most popular school. So we're really answering a parental desire.
Despite an abundance of various types of schools opening up in the UK, there is concern about the high turnover of teachers in the state sector. We take a look at some of the challenges facing teachers and why some make the decision to leave the classroom.
A teacher's day often begins long before the students enter the classroom. But 31-year-old Jeremy wouldn't want it any other way. He found his vocation 3 years ago and hasn't looked back. Due to the UK's need for more teachers, there are several schemes to get those keen to enter the profession into the classroom as quickly as possible.
In terms of my very first day, I'd had a couple of days teaching experience, and I was sat in my classroom waiting for 30 young 14-year-olds to walk through the door. And I remember being sat in my chair, I've never in my life been so, I guess, so scared, really. I was very lucky. So my school had a fantastic training programme. A lot of schools don't have that.
A survey published in April by one of the teachers' unions suggested that a huge number of newly qualified teachers, almost 40%, are no longer in the classroom a year after qualifying.
Teachers work incredibly hard. They put themselves under an incredible amount of pressure. I once worked at a school where people would stay working until 10 or 11 at night in the school office every single day. You might get a whole workforce of young teachers doing that, but there's no way they're going to be able to continue doing that.
Emma, who's 28, taught in state schools for 3 years before moving abroad to work for an international school instead.
It's a very different life not being in the state system anymore. Increasingly towards the end of my time working in England, I was getting ill a lot more often, viruses, colds, etc. If you're physically unwell, it's probably your body saying to you that actually this is too much and you can't continue this for very much longer.
Teachers say the focus on results and on inspections by the school's regulator Ofsted keep adding more to the workload.
Every school is just waiting for the call from Ofsted, and that creates a culture of sort of paranoia. There's also, on top of that, the whole exam system and the pressures on schools to deliver outstanding results. And that obviously filters down to the teachers, so the risk is that the students then become numbers.
Daniel left state sector teaching and now works with students and families to prepare youngsters to get into the best universities in the UK and beyond. He also supports schools in delivering a new curriculum, which he believes is better suited to the 21st century world.
What I very much disapproved of in my own teaching experience was the focus on preparing young people to pass exams. I understand the constraints that exist within schools, but I think there's definitely an argument for a future brand of schools that teaches around an international curriculum.
Although the constraints and challenges for teachers may be many, the rewards can be countless.
For me, walking into a classroom at the beginning of each day, or walking into each lesson, is a really exciting experience, and knowing that I'm helping a bunch of young people learn some interesting, cool things about the world, and hopefully helping them, give them a better future, is for me a really exciting thing.
Good morning, class.
Good morning. With UK election fever in full swing, schools are getting involved in the action. Can students' mock debates between the rival parties produce a clearer winner than the polls suggest the real election will provide? Let's find out.
It's debate day at Holy Family Catholic School in London. A group of 17 and 18-year-olds are competing for votes from their peers in a mock election. Representing 6 British political parties, the teenagers have been campaigning for weeks.
I think a lot of our students are very political and politicised without necessarily realising it. So I think I was wanting to do this to make the link between actually having opinions and actually being active in politics.
I think I'll be able to win a lot of people over by being able to argue all the other parties' points and saying why Conservatives has the right way forward.
I am expecting a lot of controversy, especially from Conservative, but I think we will just have to wait to what happens.
Welcome to the mock elections debate. Today, the topics will be immigration, education, and lowering the voting age to 16.
Young people have not been
Along with Labour, the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats, the Greens, the UK Independence Party and the Monster Raving Loony Party are also campaigning for votes.
After the deficit you have put us in.
And with Green Party, we want to truly emphasise on making a more equal society and fairer country for everyone to live in.
Conservative cannot be trusted to treat people fairly. And Labour, they will take Britain too far to the left, borrowing too much, spending too much, risking the recovery.
You have the Monster Raving Loony Party who aim to bring a bit of joy to these elections, and obviously you may have noticed I forgot the Lib Dems, but who doesn't every now and then?
Sometimes it's hard for the other candidates to get a word in because of the back and forth between the Labour and Conservative representatives.
I'm tired of it. I'm tired of them fighting between each other, none of them ever solving the problems that keep popping up over and over and over again. Why you have to vote for change?
Labour.
After a fiery debate, Labour wins a clear victory.
I think it was very successful because I think it's about time people stop looking down on Labour's old policies.
It was what I expected because I actually really expected like a Labour Conservative fight.
You know, they're very fired up, they've got a lot to say, and so I think that's why the whole debate about should the voting age be lowered to 16 has been such an important debate in the school. It would mean that schools would be a lot more proactive in actually making students aware of the political system. I think that would be really good for democracy.
I think it should definitely be lowered to 16 because you have a lot of like mature 16-year-olds and almost excluding them from the voting process and acting as if young people don't care about politics is the problem.
Now over to you. What are your thoughts on the education system in the UK and how does it compare with others around the world? Share your ideas with us on our social media pages. Goodbye for this week.
Learning World in association with WISE, an initiative of Qatar Foundation.